Okay, I did the crank, made another adjustment to the crank, and now we're just gonna put it back together, just the way it was. Everything is loosey and pretty easy with this engine. A lot of the difficulties you might, or stubbornness you might encounter in doing the same thing would be normal. They usually isn't this easy going. But yeah, it's so loose. I usually press them into the case, and then the sliding fit is on the crankshaft. But in this case, it's just everything is quite loose. So normally you were fitting a new gasket, you'd be awfully careful about the two halves going together. Make sure your gasket's all intact. I don't tighten anything yet. Get all the screws started first, then I'll torque them down, just to make sure the gasket kind of sneaked out of place. Sometimes the screws are a little different. You might notice some have smaller diameter heads. There's usually a place where they go, like here in the front mount, and the rest area, the other places can have the bigger headed screws. Getting them all started. Now the impact gun. I'm a little bold because this engine is so loose and I've been doing it. Usually on a new engine, I'm a little more careful. And I just usually do it by hand. Just because I'm being a little paranoid. But this one is different. Okay, so now we'll start with the magneto magnet. Find that key. Often, engines on the primary, on the crankshaft side, the keys are 2.5 millimeter, small. A lot of times the output shaft has a bigger key, a 3 millimeter key. This engine was originally one of the Zminglo Ming's International engines, and I didn't really care for that one that much, and this one has the same key size throughout the machine. Here's another place where the curved pliers come in handy. When you're putting this magnet on, sometimes you got to watch out for that key walking out of place, so I will hold it in place with this magnet, with this curved plier. Carefully eyeball. Oh boy. Oh. This is harder when the iron is there. Feeling for the bottom of the key. Oh, pushing it on. It's a little bit harder to do when this wire loop is in there because it's just pulling on the magnet and everything, but I did it. And these Chinese guys that do this every day, they're probably even quicker. 19 millimeter, we'll get the sprocket on now. Sometimes there's shims. In this case, I just left the shims right where they are. It's fitting kind of tight. I think this will just go right on. Yep. don't really feel like turning my thumb into hamburger. Okay, now we can put the covers on. Bucking bar. Oh my god, I stuck to a key. Key stuck to my finger. That would have been nice. It would have fallen right on the floor. That'll happen to you once or twice. This is a number 3. This is a number 3 posi drive. Seems to fit pretty nice. This impact gun is on the lowest air setting, so it's kind of limited and regulated. It still ends up doing it pretty tight. Cover. Magneto cover. Oh, by the way, the magnet key, when you're looking at it, the keyway should be at 1 o'clock, if you know what I mean. And if you got one of those thick plated magnets that are at like 12-15, I don't know. I tested one, engine could hardly even run, and there's a ton of them out there. I don't know what the deal is with that, but I saved my old magnets. They have keyways that are cut at 1 o'clock, and these new ones at 12-15, highly advanced, about 10 to 20 degrees advanced. Heard some reports of people having no trouble at all with it. Those people at high altitude, I'm at 950 feet, so I don't know, but sure as hell those magnets didn't work for me. Oh look, some shims fell. Oh my god. Look at that, some shims fell. Well, these shims, I believe, were here to shim out this shaft. Most of the times, they're cut in a way where you don't have to do it, but on these engines, these Minglo engines, they had funny keys. But you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. That's a no-no, but on this engine, this test engine, forget about it. Beating the snot out of this engine, trying to get a crankshaft that works. You know, I'm probably going to disassemble this engine soon after anyway. After I test it, you know, because it's probably not going to be perfect. I'm probably going to have to continue to tweak and tweak and tweak until I get a crank that seems the most vibration free. So I'm not too worried about it. I didn't even Loctite any of the flywheel weight screws or anything like that. Again, I'm using the curved pliers to kind of hold that key. And you gotta check to make sure you haven't lost it. It's in there. Sometimes that key will walk right out of there. And I've heard of these gears getting wrecked because the key falls out and actually gets caught in the gears. That's great when that happens. Could put those shims on this side, but I like to have those shims on the secondary shaft on the other side. It's okay, I'm not going to worry about it. This one's a little tricky because I can't hold that key. Eyeballing it, trying to align it just right. Oh, I was lucky. Because that key barely is in there. It's kind of a loose key. And they press in a little bit tighter. Sometimes I use a chisel just to knock that key in home. If it's fitting nice and tight, that's kind of good. It stays put. Unlike this engine where everything's so loose. There we go. Tight. Now, operating the clutch lever will allow me to put the pressure plate and the flour nut on and adjust it for a nice pull. I can feel the difference of not having those shims in there. Okay, that's a pretty nice tight pull, ensuring that the clutch won't slip. This little screw, I always Loctite, but I'm not doing it right now because, like I say, this is just a test engine. It'll probably only run for 10 minutes before I tear it apart again. It's a real pain. That's what I'm doing. I can't wait for this project to be over. It's odd I'm missing a screw. There's supposed to be 5. Oh, there is 5. No. Can't even count. Start them. And finish them. And now, wrist pin bearing. Oh, don't forget the gasket now. Might as well do that now, before the piston goes on. Makes life a little easier. I've used this gasket every time. It's still cooking. Some gaskets are better than others. I like the gaskets from Dax. I like the gaskets from Gas Bike. Piston still has the retaining clip in one end. I don't have to look for the arrow because my pistons have bevels and there's an exhaust port bevel. Look through, line it up. There. Push it with the special curved pliers. These little curved needle nose pliers are so handy. Grab the new wrist pin. The little notch in the end of the needle nose pliers holds that clip real good. Doesn't pop out, go across the room or anything like that. Make sure it's in the groove all the way around. Cylinder. Pressing top ring with my 2 thumbnails. And gasket. And now she'll be ready to test drive again. That's it.